Tell me when you're ready and we'll start. Ready? I think I'm going back a line or two in order to start from a place that we can properly start. Again, it's in the middle of the page, Ches, and the line begins with Temusu Mara. So the Rebbe explains the union of HaChochma. That Chochma, as the Gemara says, Mishnah says, Hareyas HaNoilod. And we explained that the faculty of Re'iyah, of sight, actually I don't remember getting into the faculty of Re'iyah per se when we learned it last time, but this is something which we discussed many times, that Re'iyah is very different than every other faculty. We have 5 different faculties called senses. What is the significance of what sense? Sense means that you're sensing something outside of yourself. There is that which you feel within yourself. That's not a sense. That is what you feel into yourself, your own seichel, your own midas, and so forth. Then there are senses. What are the 5 senses? Touch, smell, taste, hearing, and sight. These are the 5 faculties that integrate us to the world outside ourselves. Make us aware of everything. As to show a person is missing any one of these senses, he is isolated. If he's missing, God forbid, all of the senses, he's like a vegetable. He's totally unaware of anything but himself. Of these 5 senses, sight is a standout, meaning it is of a quality unique that is different than all the other 4. The other 4, of course, each one is different than the other, but there is a common way of describing them. In general, a sense. You want to what? Go ahead, Fred. Go ahead. I want you to be 100% here. Go ahead. Okay, as I was saying, these five senses are the faculties that that connect us to the rest of reality, the rest of the world. Of the five, sight is absolutely unique. What is the uniqueness of sight? All other four senses, you're actually sensing that which is outside of yourself. There's no question about it. But you're sensing it as a result of personal experience. The most obvious one is in taste. You're sensing that this is sweet because it's actually sweet in your mouth. You experience the sweetness. You don't know that it's sweet because you know what it is. You know it's sweet because you tasted it. The same is true in touch. You know that something is there, not because you know something is there. You know that something affects your hand. You feel it in your hand. The same thing is the smell. The smell enters your nostrils and it gives you a certain sensation. As a result of that, you know the smell. You're actually experiencing it. So a hearing, likewise. Hearing, you hear the sound actually enters your ear, and ears vibrate as a result of the sound. As a result of that, this is how you hear. And the hearing, when you hear somebody speak, for instance, you don't know what he's saying by the fact that he is saying it, by the fact that you hear it. You know what he is saying by the fact that you translate that hearing. The hearing, the words come to you. They come into your mind. And you know what the words mean previously. You know the language. So therefore you know what he's saying. If not for that, it would just be a sound. And it would not tell you anything about what's going on. Zero.
Like, let's say if you didn't understand the language, you would just hear the sound.
If you don't understand the language, it depends which language. But generally speaking, you don't even know to differentiate between one word and another. It sounds to you like one long sound. As people speak, they don't put commas, they don't put space between words. You know the space between words because you understand the words. Otherwise, it's one long sound. So therefore, it means that to distinguish the words and to hear them is something which is due to your experience. You experience the sound, you experience the words, take it in, and this is what lets you know what you hear. Sight, as I said, is a unique condition, a unique position. Okay. Again, before I go into that, I want to go back a little bit to the other four. Being that the other four, we are sensing them due to our personal experience of them, therefore our knowledge of them is limited to what we experience. Meaning to say that the whole reality of this table, for instance, to me, is not the table, but it's my feel of the table. You follow what I'm saying? God forbid the person who is blind. We, Baruch Hashem, we need to really focus in it, because we all have sight, so we don't realize what sight does for us. Somebody who is sightless, When he feels the table doesn't come to reality to him. He only knows that he feels something over here. He knows it through himself. And the same thing to the other four senses. Sight is completely different. Sight does not tell you the table is here because something interferes with your vision. You see the reality itself. It is really a reality. And that's why you see it. It's totally independent of your personal experience. When you go out and you see whatever, a panorama, you don't have to be able to, you have to distinguish between the various leaves, the various trees, and various grasses, the various colors in order to see what you see. You see it all just the way it is. And it's a reality. It's real. This sense of reality is extremely important. This actually distinguishes the human being from the heart of the animal. Like we said before, the animal doesn't have yesh me'ayin. The animal does not see things just because they're existing. He sees things only by surmising, what is this going to do for me? Is it going to hurt me, or is it edible, or in my common statement, he says, am I going to be his lunch, it's going to be my lunch. That's the way the animal thinks. You cannot think in objective terms. The human being is blessed with seichel, and he's able to think in objective terms, and to know the reality because it's real. In Lashon HaRambam is Ha'emes mitnei shu ha'emes. Understand? It seems like a play on the word. It's not. It's not double talk. Ha'emes mitnei shu ha'emes is a very significant statement. This is the Rambam saying. Ha'emes, he knows the emes not because he has peripheral proof. Other kind of proof. No, he knows it because it is true. That's why he knows. Not from any other angle. That's a phenomenal thing. I'd say that this is a unique gift to the human being. That came to him because of seichel, because of chokhmah. And chokhmah in Gashmius translates into sight. But Gashmius sight and Ruchnius chokhmah are very similar. That's why chokhmah is called chokhmah roya zanayel. Because Chokhmah also functions in this manner of sight. It sees, in Chokhmah one sees the truth. Doesn't have proof for the truth, he sees it. Because he sees the truth directly. Ha'emes mitnei shu ha'emes. The whole union, emes, is an extremely difficult thing to understand. And it exists by us exclusively in Amunah, in this faculty of Chokhmah. Even though we say, we constantly use the word truth, emes, there are two different, totally different principles. In English it would be truth and true. True is an adjective. You know what I'm saying? You have a subject, and you say, is this true or is it not true? How do you know it's true? Oh, I know it's true because it weighs so much, or it has this kind of size. In other words, it's all a relative thing. Truth is a completely different concept. Truth really is exclusively a godly principle. In the world, there's no such thing as truth. Everything in the world came to be. Everything in the world is relative. It is cause and effect. It came to be, one thing made another. So it's not truth. It is all relative. This table is standing here on this floor. Is that truth? Or is that true?
True.
It's true. Because the floor is not an absolute thing. It doesn't have to be there. It happens to be there is a floor, and this table stands on the floor. you want to go back, using this analogy, going all the way to truth, like we did this in the past. The table stands on the floor. Okay, the floor is pretty solid, right? The floor is maintained, is held up by beams that are supported by the wall of the house. The wall of the house is supported by a foundation. A 6-foot thick foundation. Okay. The foundation is supported by the earth. All that is true. Now when you go a step further and say, what supports the earth? What supports the earth? The answer is godly will. That's when you go to truth. The Abba created the world, and he said, okay, you stay here, you stay here. And that's a godly creation. That's a godly reality. Then you're already going to a completely different realm.
You told somebody outside such a thing.
I'm sorry?
You told an outside person that never learned or never really thought about this. You told them this is truth, he would say this is belief.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Because only belief is a faculty in our nefesh. Belief is chokhmah. One is blind, doesn't see. One is silent, he see. Belief, as I said before, the belief is the godly spark in our nefesh. Because in our nefesh we know that there is such thing as truth. In other words, like the Rambam says, that you know prior to anything that there is a first being. How do you know there's a first being? It said before Chokhmah, like we discuss all the time. You know the first being because you know there's a first being. In the nefesh, your human nefesh, because that's what the nefesh is. Nefesh is godly. It has a truth that is beyond worldly level of truth. And that's what he knows. And that's what makes us human beings. That's what distinguishes human being from the animal.
What is it called when somebody, let's say, breathes? If you breathe, you will be able to survive. If you stop breathing, you won't be able to survive. To me, that sounds truth of Kul Alma to everybody. Does truth have to be the Kul Alma, or truth is just the way you know it, or the way it is?
Listen, my dear friend. There are two answers I'm going to give you. First of all, Kulei Alma means Kulei Alma, living human beings. Every Yid. I don't have to include the Goy. He doesn't have the neshama that I have. That's number one. The Yid also could be that he is not aware of what he is. That we always know. Most even, those who are not Shematei or Mitzvahs, they don't know what they themselves believe. When you expose them to it, oh yeah, that really is beautiful. Okay? Like it says in the there's no way that it should be separated from God, but so all that does not put in question at all what we are saying.
You're saying opinions don't determine what's true.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As far as breathing is concerned, you brought up an interesting thing. I just wanted to explain to you, to point out something to you. Because breathing is really living, and I explained this many times. It's an interesting phenomenon. The Eibishter created the world, the physical world, in a manner that it should be fully supportive of the richness of the neshama, of the truth of the neshama. So the physical world, yes, everything is relative, and I cannot live in this world unless I breathe. And breath brings me life. But just like that spiritual life is something which the neshama, the Rebbe breathe into my nostrils, it comes from above. It's not something that we create. So too is physical breathing In each way, it's a phenomenon of the creation. Physical breathing, as I explained, that how do we breathe physically? You think you breathe in and out? Not true. You breathe out. And then there is a vacuum formed in your lungs. And the air pressure, that was a total life force in the world, pushes the air into your lungs. Exactly the same way the life is pushed into you. You don't, if a person has to breathe in, it's not life. Life is something always that's given to you gratis, so to speak, because of the total presence of life. Like the Rebbe said, infinity, and this is all infinite, in physical sense, this is the infinite air. This is how you breathe. This is why, when we go out and say, a breath of fresh air, what's that experience? You experience the total air availability, not the breath that you take into yourself. That's different. So you mentioned this. I just wanted to point out to you. Yes, it's important that we open, so to speak. That's what Chassidus is all about. To open our neshama, influence upon our faculties, because that's what seichel is. That's what the holy thing is. Seichel is that it is somewhere. It brings the neshama into our awareness. We know in seichel, but the way the neshama knows things, not as purely as that, but that is the basis of it. Like seichel, we have chokhmah and bina, but the chokhmah actually is a message from the neshama. This is what the truth is, and this is what we're saying, that the chokhmah is re'iyah. Re'iyah, just like physically speaking, in sight. Sight is an extremely important part of a human being, because that makes the world real to him. Person who lacks sight, God forbid, it doesn't have a real world. The halacha is, I've been discussed many times, that a blind person is supported for all the mitzvahs. Why? Because he has no Yetzer Hara. Since he has no Yetzer Hara, why not? He can taste everything. The Yetzer Hara also is not stupid.
Is that a person who's born blind? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want. That's right. Never experienced sight. The Yetzer Hara is not stupid. He wants something that's real. If it's not real, he's not drawn to it. Because it's a human Yetzer Hara. It's not someone just stuff in his mind. Like the halacha is at Shabbos you have to have light on the table. Why? Why do you have light? Why is Shabbos? Why do you have to light Shabbos candles? There are many reasons. One major reason is because you have to enjoy your food. And if you don't see your food, you don't enjoy it. Regardless of how well it tastes, how good it tastes. Because to a human being, the reality of it is more important than the taste. That is a phenomenon. Why is it so real? What is the reality? Reality is because the reality, I'll call Meitzer Pi Hashem Yichya Ha'odam. When a person sees that this is really food that the Rebbe created, that gives him a sense of relief, a real sense of food. The Rebbe feeds him. If he doesn't see it, there's maybe Tzvi Hashem. He sees he has a taste only. It's not the real thing. Well, you're in charge today anyway, so.
I just wanted to ask about the story. If I want to tell it to somebody, this concept, give it over.
Well, let's leave that separate. Let's stay on the course for what this course. If you want to verify something, we can do after the class. So this is the phenomenon of sight. On the ruchnistic level, there is a chokhmah. It's a chokhmah who royas anoilot, and the Rebbe explains what is the meaning of royas anoilot. Even though this is noilot, it's created yesh meyayin. It's a yesh, but he sees it the same level of truth as it is in its source. He sees that which is born, even though it becomes a yesh, but he sees the absolute truth in this that is born and becomes a Metzias. Because that's what Chochmah is. Now let's look inside. The line begins, it's just about the middle, it's a little bit above the middle of the page Ches. The Musumara. Chochmah goes directly to the essence, not to the formation of the essence, how it forms itself, how it creates a, so to speak, a keli, but that directly to the essence of it. Lochein, for this reason, harehu roya es hanoilad yesh me'ayin lamato. He sees that which is born. A yesh ma'ayin, a yesh here below becomes a yesh. He sees it in the same way. He sees the essence of it, k'mei l'maylo mamash, the way it is l'maylo. Mamash means not only correctly, like a demus, a reflection, but the very same. What you see l'maylo, he sees l'mato. Bilti chiluk madreges klal. Not even in different madreges. You could say that, oh, l'maylo, this is ruchnis, here is gashmis. No, he sees the ruchnis here also. Because he attends, the Chochmah attends to the reality itself. So this principle that Chochmah attends to the reality itself, even though he came down Hilamatu in Gashmis, it becomes a Yesh, really should be explained in Hope and Mitzvah. Sometimes take the time to explain it and to show why this is so. But this is the principle of Chochmah. For now, we'll just explain the words in the Maimar. This is a principle that it sees the reality the way it is. In other words, last time I think we used the table as a muscle, didn't we? We use the table to demonstrate this principle. A table is a carpenter's creation. But what gave the idea of a table? The idea of a table actually comes from Nefesh Odom. And in the Nefesh Odom, it actually represents a very important aspect in Nefesh Odom. In the fact that there are all kinds of koiches and nefesh, and all the way there is the union of malchus. It's like a human being, if you just last time, has the principle of ownership. He owns a certain area. Owning means that this part of the world actually belongs to me. How does it belong to you? It's part of the world. The answer is because I am here representing the Meibush. That's what the human being is. So the human being represents God in the world. And therefore he has this union that he can own a piece of the world. This is the malchus element, the royal element in the human being. This malchus element, what is the malchus element? That if I need a cup in front of me, then I don't have to hold it in my hand, like we call the bag ladies. Everything that she owns, she carries with her. No, I don't have to. I have a place for everything. And this is, so to speak, part of the personality of the human being. Therefore, I had the idea that, and it is so to speak, an imperative that that the place where I am, the area around me should serve me. Therefore, it's logical that you serve. Then I think, okay, how can it be construed, so to speak? In this particular instance, if I have a board in front of me where I can put it down, it will be nice. If I have a board, how do you support the board? You have the 4 legs. And that's how the table is formed. But the table, as such, represents a nefesh quality of the human being. No other animal, no matter how smart, quote unquote, understands, appreciates a table. Needs a table. Knows how to use it means nothing to him. A human being, a table is even when 2 people get together. I mean, this is the Jewish custom. People get together, they want to discuss something. Where do they sit? In front of a table. That's a definitive place. That's where people sit. Because it's a human aspect. Now, it takes a chochem. It takes the chochmah of the human being. After seeing the table, it takes a chochmah. You know, all of us were born after tables were developed in the most sophisticated manner. But we have chochmah. Now the chochmah tells us, oh yeah, it's the right thing. We don't accept the table, it was made by a carpenter. It fits with us very well. Why? Because we all have seichel, we all have chochmah. If not for chochmah, then the table would be an extraneous thing. We would see the structure. Oh, it's a pretty useful thing, useful tool. That's nothing to do with the human being. But that's not the case. It is, in fact, it is totally human. That's the inyan, that you see it in its physical rendition the way it is on a higher level in the nefesh. Without any change. Even though this is in the physical keli, in the human being inside, now what the human being stands for, how it affects the human being is a nefesh element, a much higher level. But you actually see the very reality of the nefesh right here. That is possible only in chokhmah. In bina you don't see it that way. In bina I've already explained its facility, what it facilitates, its utility and so forth, a comfort. But to see that this is actually representative of nefesh, the way it is in its source, lamato, k'may lamaylo, without being obstructed by the formulation, that is what chokhmah is. It sees the yesh as it comes from the ayin, and it sees the yesh at the ayin level, on the neshama level. This is chokhmah. Yes, yeah, you wanted to comment on something that I said.
It wasn't shy to the class, it was like a side thing. It was interesting. There's a thing called squatting.
What?
There's this thing called squatting that people, they come to a building.
Squatters, yeah.
Squatters. And then there's another thing that's a little more than that, where people go into a building and they slowly take over apartments, and then they go and pay off in court with the city. So the city has it, and they basically fight it with the city, and then they're paying the taxes and selling and taking over the building. And the right that they have, the right that they use in court to argue this out is, who are you representing? You guys representing nobody. The court, who is it that's charging? Who is it that's taking the building? You have nobody officially taking it. We represent God, and that's why we are allowed to have the same rights to the building as you do. The question is, who's going to pay off these bills? And it's funny, this guy I was speaking to is not he's married to a goy. And this is actually what he does. And he mentioned this, the mere fact that I'm representing Hashem. And that's why he has the right to do it. He uses that in court.
Okay.
It was just interesting that...
This is a topic that we've discussed here many times, the principle of ownership. is a very important human aspect. And it touches all the way to the Chochmah Shebenefesh. We explained that animals also have what they call turf. Their turf, like a lion has its turf. And if any animal ventures into that turf, he won't come out alive. But that's not ownership. The lion protects his turf with his power. Ownership means that it's mine. Nobody has the right to enter it. I don't have to fight for it. Nobody has the right to enter. Somebody enters my home. My door is unlocked. Somebody enters my home without my permission. He is transgressing. He's transgressing a human law, a godly law. I mean, we have many transgressors, so we have to lock the doors. Otherwise, I mean, in principle, there's no such thing. The whole phenomenon that you have to lock your doors and put window grates and all that is an anomaly for human beings. Human beings know that there's ownership. All right, let's continue. So this is the point which was pretty difficult, but this is the point but the Rebbe says over here, I'm repeating the words inside, not that people express. It isn't that he sees that law madrege, that this is on the physical edition. He sees the reality itself, the way it comes in mind. This is Choch. Meyachar, since she'en shayach olov bechinas halomis v'hasteirim klal, since that on the Chochmah is not possible to apply any kinds of halomis v'hasteirim, any kind of concealments. Therefore, he sees the same truth here below as it is Lamailo. And again, the word mamush means to say not a resemblance of it, not a reflection of it, but the real thing. B'lishum hevdel klal, without any change, any difference. This in mamush b'lishum hevdel klal, having discussed before this union of, the whole, how the world stands and all that, we'll use that as a moshel to point out how this is bli shum hevdel klal.
What happens when a person sneezes?
This is, we will be able to understand it, although it is not easy to grasp, to relate to, but we will be able to understand this by the following. As we discussed before, that if the table stands on the floor and the floor is held up by beams that are held up by the wall, that are held up by the foundation, by the earth, and ultimately the earth is, as we say, Toil Eretz al Belima. Toil Eretz al Belima. Hashem suspends the earth al Belima. In other words, ultimately, the reason it stands in its place is because this is a godly command. This is a godly truth. This is a godly phenomenon, that it's a godly creation, that this is the way it should be. There's a godly truth to it. Once, this is the challenge over here now, once you recognize that the ultimate phenomenon that this stands in this place is because al blima, because it's a godly command, then this godly command applies not only to the earth, but applies to this cup. Because ultimately, the cup is here for the very same reason that the earth itself is here. Do you follow what I'm saying? Even though we were able to go through a whole Seder Hishtalshelus, several steps before we got to the earth, to the suspended earth, that is because we saw it with other faculties, with Bina, and so forth. But once you get to the point where you recognize the truth, that truth permeates everything, all the way up to the smallest phenomenon. This is that the Chocham sees Lamata just the way it is Lamayla. Exactly the same way. Okay, there's much to speak about this. Just wanted to have one illustration of the point. Maybe we have a chance to elaborate on it more another time. Okay. Ma shein, and this is where it's in Chochmah. Okay, we have the place. Ma shein kein k'mei shebo b'bchinas yislapshus b'midas chagas unehi. Whereas a completely different phenomenon, different experience. When this oir, when the same truth, then translates and becomes and affects and functions in the midas of chagas, of chokhmah, of chesed, gvur, tiferes, or in a even lower netzach hoydisay, ad shemislabesh b'bchinas malchus, all the way down to the point where this chokhmah, but this ultimate truth, is mislabesh, becomes represented, and it imbues itself b'bchinas malchus, in the element of malchus, which is a totally external thing. Shehu b'chinas mara udemus, which is not the real thing itself. Mara udemus, it's only an appearance and a similarity, a reflection of the ultimate of that which is in Chokhmah, not the real thing itself. The b'chinas b'nislabish, the b'chinas malchus, in our moshel of the table, this is like the physical table itself. Physical table itself. It's very far from representing the real chokhmah. So then, hareshayach shom b'chinas halomas v'hasteidim. So there, the aspect of halomas v'hasteidim, of concealments, is definitely possible. In other words, it's possible not to see the chokhmah, to see that this is just a physical piece of wood that has a certain form that's useful. You don't see how it connects to the nefesh odom and to the seichel odom. Are you with me? Memela, and therefore, yeshom hevdol. There is a distinction. V'chilukim madreges of Mailo umato. There is a difference in madreges. That which is higher, or that which is lower. That which is higher, which is closer to the nefesh, closer to the seichel, or further down, lower into on a functional level. V'chol sheyored ha'oir yeser lamato. And the more that the oir descends further, more descent, lamato, further down, behislapshus means that it becomes more and more imbued in some other aspect, in some other faculty. And I'll discuss the hislapshus in a moment. So then, Yeser hu master umafrit. There it becomes more and more mastir umafrid, mastir, concealing and separating.
We're talking about the oil of Chochmah.
Right, the oil of the nefesh. Chochmah sees the oil of the nefesh the way it is, and as the oil comes down to the other faculties, it becomes more and more concealed, and it becomes more separate from the nefesh. Like we spoke yesterday, that the capability of speaking is a nefesh thing. Clearly, it's a human faculty. It's a human aspect. Representing, and the human being is called medaber. It's a representing of the nefesh Adam. And yet, as it comes down and mislabish into a gashmizik means of speech, you can duplicate it in gashmis, and you can. It becomes so muster and so concealed that it's possible to deny that there's a nefesh element in this. It's all physical. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya that when a person speaks, speech is formed by a combination, but there is the force of the air from the heart, and that force comes into the mouth, and the mouth has what's called 5 different forms of how it forms out this vibration of this air, and creates different sounds. And this is where letters are formed, and then words and so forth. That's what speech is. So, Dr. Rebbe explains that when a person actually speaks, he does not pay attention at all in creating the sounds through his mouth. He is focused on saying this letter, the way the letter is perceived in his nefesh, in his thought, or this sound. The mouth automatically follows suit and presents this letter, this sound. A person does not, intentionally, is not even aware that he is closing his mouth, opening his mouth, or anything, any other aspect in producing the sound. He has in his mind this sound, to produce this letter. That is something which is in the nefesh. And then automatically, this inyan was mislabish in the goof, mislabish in the mouth, and that's how it's produced. So there it's possible halomus v'hastei. Really, this sound comes from the nefesh, but it's possible to see that it's actually formed right here in the mouth itself. They don't see it how it comes from the nefesh. To understand the principle, that there is doinen semeh chayu medaber, and the human being is described as a medaber rather than a mechocham. So medaber, for some reason, denotes the human being more correctly than even chochmah. It's a special faculty. But the way we see dibur come out, it's a physical thing. We can even duplicate it, like I said, synthetically. Yet by human being, dibur represents his nefesh itself at the highest level, even higher than chochmah. But when it comes to his slapshus, you can lose. It can be mastered on the oil. It's called mastered on the oil, and all you see is the keli. And it takes a chochem to see how this is actually a nefesh element. And that this is really exclusively a human inyan. Like we said yesterday, one-on-one is true, the same thing when a person speaks and the machine speaks. Is there any parallel? Is there any similarity? Does that speech to a human being mean the same or anywhere near the same what it means to a machine?
So what does it mean like Shlomo HaMelech could speak to all the animals? Like they have a form of, I guess, medaber.
No, that's not medaber.
Right.
Yeah, right. And they communicate with sound. The difference between dibur and all other animals, you're communicating with sound. You go in the morning, the birds are communicating. The difference is as follows. Take, for instance, if I say to you, please move, and you go and you move. How is that compared to me saying, go over and give him a push? But you also move. Giving you a push is, like I said before, this is like the other four faculties, You know what I want because I'm pushing you. It's not on the reality level. It's on a cause and effect level. Dibur ha'odom is presenting the reality of the thought. It's actually presenting the seichel, the reality of the thought. That's what's so uniquely human. All animals also communicate, but they communicate on an emotional level, on a push level, on an enticement level. You know what I'm saying? It's a completely different level. Speech is exclusively human.
They also do like parakshira, like that.
I'm sorry?
Also parakshira, like all the animals.
Yeah, they have their
creations.
shira. It's all. That's right. But it's all with their whole being. It's not understanding the neighbor shall say, "Oh, the Bnei Shalom, here's what you deserve." There isn't that. This only a human being can say that. Here's what I see, even nothing to do with me. I see the greatness of your creation. Animals don't have any of that. They sing because they personally experience a satisfaction, whatever it is, they fill their belly, so they sing. All right, so we are on this line, Yoser. I want to talk to somebody here. Okay. So we discussed the HaChochma, I think, Re'iyah, to some degree of clarity. All right. They want to say something? Do I take it as a question or do you think it's...
No, this wasn't a question. If I want to say something, yeah, a lot of things.
Okay.
Everything at this time and place.
All right, so Mr. Shem, we'll continue on Monday.